Peace, it's Brother Faheem, and you're now tuned in to the Lead with Logic podcast. Hey, guess what? You know the vibes. Peace, and love, y'all. This is Brother Faheem. Welcome to another wonderful episode of the Lead with Logic podcast. Hey, man, I'm not sure if that I have my microphone on mute, so you might not have heard it. Hopefully you did, but if not, whatever. Just y'all here now. So if you just fast forward through that. Man, life moves at such an ultra magnetic pace. I'm always trying to keep my boots laced so that I can win the race. Y'all know how it goes. Y'all know exactly how it goes. Man, we are in the thick of the summer, y'all. It's a whole lot going on. We are in the thick of it. Hopefully y'all are enjoying this thing, man. I know it's a lot of people getting ready to start going on vacation. People are graduating from college. People graduated from high school. Man, it's awesome. It's so much great things going on. And the world keeps on turning. Yes, the world keeps on turning. Yes. The world keeps on. Man, a lot going on too in the current events. It's a whole lot going on, man. It was an attack in Colorado, right? I don't know if y'all saw that. It was a shooting in Colorado, and it was bad. It was horrible. Donald Trump is in the news. Again, he's in the news. Two things, right? Two things. Dealing with black culture, right? He was in the news, number one, because he commuted the sentence of the GD leader. And I want to say he's one of the co-founders, right? Him and Jeff Fort. But he commuted his sentence, right? Commuted his sentence. So we're gonna go over. We're gonna look up what that means, right? We're gonna go over what that means so people can understand exactly who Larry Hoover is, what his impact was and is on the black community. Why so many people still have a lot of reverence for the brother, right? And it's some people have reverence, some people have disgust. Some people have disgust, right? But nonetheless, he also welcome, whoever that is, welcome. But Donald Trump also, they asked him about Puffy. They asked him about P. Diddy, right? And he said he'd be willing to pardon him, right? We're gonna look at that as well. We're gonna look at what he said with that as well. He said he was willing to pardon him. And so, man, that was amazing. As well as, I saw some clips. I'm gonna share some clips with y'all that I thought were interesting, right? People, legal beagles, lawyers, judges, their perspective on the Puffy debacle because it's still ongoing. It's looking good for Puff, though. For those of you all who haven't been paying attention, it's looking real good for Puff. Not looking good for the culture. Not looking good at all for the culture. And what I mean by that is it's exposing, it's shining a light on our faulty logic, right? It's shining a light on how gullible and green we are to mass sentiment, to popular sentiment, right? But yeah, so we're gonna talk about some of those things, man. And I'm gonna pull up some stuff for y'all. In this first hour, I always like to get my people, man. I like to get my people and let them know that we are on and we are doing our thing. You dig? So I feel good, y'all. I finally got my lighting correct. That's a big thing when you doing your podcast, man. It's hard. Y'all go back and look at some of my other lives, man. Some of that lighting is busted. And maybe to the professionals, this one is too, but I love it. Listen, I gotta always shout out the brand. Look, man, here on Lead with Logic, you got to know that this is a brand of saying in a podcast, right? For everybody over on Facebook, hey, do me a favor. Hey, repost this. Post this to your page. Send it in a direct messenger, please. Send it to that direct messenger. Hey, man, I would definitely appreciate that. If you're on YouTube, right? If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching live, hey, man, send it out to somebody who you think will enjoy it. If you're watching it in replay, comment on something, man. You see something, say something, like they say in the street when something happens. See something, say something. You see something you enjoy, you see something you didn't enjoy. It's all good. Engagement is what I'm here for, right? Because while it's only me talking on the microphone and behind the camera, this is not a monologue. This is absolutely a dialogue. And it only works that if you guys respond, whether it's real time or post production, post show. So, but yeah, Lead with Logic, man. I want you guys to go to www.leadwithlogic7.com. Again, that's leadwithlogic7.com. We have hats, hoodies, and tees, and whatever else you please. Hit me up, man. Send me a message. Send me a link on there. Say, hey, listen, not a link, but send me a message. Let me know, hey, look, man, I want this with your order, and I'll hook it up. Say, hey, I would like 2 of these, 10 of those, whatever it is, whatever have you. Let me know if you drop some comments about what you saw here. We might can get you a discount. So yeah, man, do that. www.leadwithlogic7.com. And Lead with Logic, it's the brand is or the saying, excuse me, is letting enlightenment and divinity win in this harsh level of God's infinite creation. That's what Lead with Logic is, because what I do is I take the sensational, the mundane, and the controversial, and through objective data, y'all, right? Books, peer review articles, journals, internet clips, documentary clips. We extract the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding from that and help you guys live life in 3D and enhance your enlightenment, right? Yeah. Really just trying to help people to think critically, because that's a skill that can really help you to go far. That's a skill that's not stressed enough, right? We teach so many technical things in a technical world that has become so technologically advanced. Sometimes we overlook and negate those things, those small intangibles, right? That could really take us over the edge, right? Because we understand the difference between a B and an A going from good to great is those small intangibles being mastered, not being ignored. So, yeah. So going over there, man, lead with logic. 7.com and get with it, man. Get with it. But yeah. So, yes. So let's start with Trump. Trump pardons Larry Hoover. We're gonna see what that means. And hey man, listen, the army of one that I got, I appreciate you. Come on in, man. He or she or whoever you may be, the two people, that's what's up. Hey, go on to the comments, man. Let me know that you understand. Let me know that you're in the place to be. You dig? So yeah, what I'm doing is getting this getting this little information ready for y'all so that we can check it out. Yeah. So we can check it right on out. Let's see. Here we go. Here we go. Now, this is one of the topics we're going to talk about. Donald Trump pardons Larry Hoover. Now, when I heard about this, when I listened to it, I thought to myself, damn, that's what's up, man. Donald Trump is pardoning people. Now, he also pardoned some of his own people, too. Let me say that. Let me put that out there first. But he pardoned Larry Hoover. Now, this kind of debunks a lot of the talk that he's a racist, right? You can't be a racist in your commuting uh gang members, right? Gang lords or gang leaders, however you want to call it. Um, he's commuted the sentence, and he's done this. We saw him do this. I want to say he did it with uh another. I think he did it with a rapper, right? I can't remember, but I want to say he commuted or he even let a rapper out. Point being, I know Angela Staten King, he let her out. She got out behind one of his legislations, right? She loves him for it. So this just shows, right, that Donald Trump, um, he's not racist in the point to the point where he would say, you know what, I'm not. This dude is a gang member. He's a menace to society. I'm not commuting anything. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? He could stay where he is, right? I'm not doing anything for him. He's one less black man on the street or in the penitentiary or wherever. And so I thought to myself, wow, I wonder if people are seeing that Donald Trump has not just done this with Larry Hoover, he's done this with others as well, right? Now, the first thing people are going to say is, well, that was a political move. Well, black people are 80% Democrat, right? Now, you have black people who are now who are swinging to the conservative party, to the Republicans. Absolutely. And listen, a lot of us support Donald Trump. A lot of us, look, y'all, and fiscally, hey, I'm not mad at the brother. I'm not mad at him. Um, him giving opportunities, right? Him giving incentives, right? Him giving incentives to all Americans, black, white, whoever, right? You have to respect that. Now, do you agree with everything that he's done? No, but you don't agree with everything your mom or your daddy did, do you? You don't. But just looking at those things that have been beneficial to you, right? You and yours, you can say, okay, yeah, I can run with him. I can go with him. But free thinking lead, what's going on? I see you, free. What's happening? But now, hey, get them on over here from X, free. I know you can bring them all in. You can usher them in, be the Moses, and lead them across the promised land over on the YouTube, brother. But yeah, a lot of people are saying, man, this is a political move. Well, even if it is, right, let's say that it was, how many black people are really going to shift, right? Is it going to make a bigger difference in the political landscape is what I'm trying to say. Even if it's not going to cause even 10% of black people to leave the Democratic Party. So what I'm saying is, even if it is a political move, it's not going to move the needle that much within black culture. This one move, because honestly don't think that people even know who Larry Hoover is, right? Unless you're from the Midwest, primarily Chicago or Illinois or something like that, and you might have migrated somewhere else in the country. People ain't really checking for Larry Hoover like that, right? No more than they were checking for Stan Tookie Williams until he started writing the kids' books, right? Until he got killed. You see what I'm saying? But nonetheless, when I heard about it, I was like, oh, wow, he's doing this. And some of the people are saying, yeah, this was political strategy for him to get black people on their side, on his side. Well, some black folks are already on the side, but this is not a move that's going to move the needle. This is not a play that's going to help him to bring the masses over. Next, I said, oh, wow, this is interesting because yet again, this is a part of his consistency. He said, listen, with Puffy, he said, if he was mistreated, right? You're going to see that. He said something like, if he were mistreated, I would absolutely pardon him. A lot of the people who he's been pardoning, he feels as though they've gotten unjust punishment, almost cruel and unusual. Like, I know he's pardoned a white couple too that did some white collar stuff. He straight up, got them out. You see what I'm saying? Right? They don't have to be in jail anymore at all. So, but the logic behind it, what I'm trying to say is the logic behind it is that they've been treated unfairly throughout the judicial system, right? And he has made a few plays, a few moves to get people from up under that type of oppression. But we're going to go to NBC and we're going to look and see exactly what they had to say about excuse me, I'm tripping. What they had to say about Larry Hoover, his sentence being commuted.
Fresh off a commutation from the president, the former leader of the Gangster Disciples will be transferred from a supermax federal prison in Colorado to an Illinois prison. And Larry Hoover's family is now pressuring state officials here to take the next step and free him completely. NBC5's Randy Gyllenhaal spoke with his brother tonight, and he joins us live. Randy?
And that brother is urging Governor Pritzker to act, but at least for now, that convicted Chicago gang leader will remain in an Illinois prison going forward unless he is granted parole.
I felt like he has paid his debt to society.
In Inglewood, supporters of Larry Hoover say he's reformed.
He hasn't been on the streets in 52 years.
As they wait for his release from a supermax prison in Colorado, this presidential signature commuting his federal sentence. Hoover ran a ruthless gang empire from Chicago and from behind bars. But his son tells me his father, now 74, won't reoffend.
He's been in a closet for 30 years, sleeping on a metal bed. Would you? Would anybody?
His case for freedom has support from celebrities like Kanye West and those close to Trump. His family says the White House believed their story.
Believed that it was inhumane treatment, that it was unfair punishment. With Drake and Ye, you know, that makes a lot of noise. That puts us in front of a lot of people, and that opens up the platform. But I don't know that affected the president at this point.
Hoover will continue to serve his state sentence of 200 years. Is convicted of kidnapping and killing a drug dealer in this Inglewood alley. The Illinois Prisoner Review Board denied Hoover parole multiple times, and former members say that's unlikely to change.
The president well knows that Mr. Hoover isn't going anywhere, and that he's not going to be released. He's not going to be given freedom. He's got to come back and fulfill his Illinois sentence.
Meantime, the governor's office said that Hoover would need to petition that review board before any kind of decision on clemency could be made, and it's unclear at this point when he would be transferred back to Illinois. Stefan.
Randy Gyllenhaal downtown with us tonight. Thank you so much, Randy.
$200 years. 200 years for kidnapping a drug dealer, right? 200 years. Wow. But you notice how, I don't know if you caught, Donald Trump said it was cruel and inhumane. He thought it was inhumane, a lot of people. And a lot of people have gotten behind it. But obviously we live in a culture and a society where the more notoriety, whatever, the more attention that you get about any topic, about whatever it is, the more or the higher the probability something is likely to change, right? Because we see Drake and Ye getting behind it now. Kanye is from Chicago, right? He's a hometown kid. So he is going to obviously advocate for Larry Hoover and probably Jeff Ford too, right? Jeff Ford is another name you guys might want to look into. He's right there with him. But Drake, you know, it might just be something that he jumped onto, but him getting those two getting, or at least Larry Hoover, excuse me, not those two, Larry Hoover getting that support from those guys, it makes a huge difference. But you see where he said he's not, you know, he's not going, he still has to serve the remainder of his time, right? He had been in a closet, sleeping on a steel floor, right? For 50 years. That's crazy, y'all. That's crazy. That is cruel and inhumane punishment. That's wild. That's wild. And so it's cool that Donald Trump at least would get him to where he can sleep on a regular bed, right? At least he can get as humane a treatment as you can get while you're incarcerated. You know, that's cool. Let me show y'all. Here's another report.
Prison in Colorado. His family hasn't been able to speak with him today to get his reaction to his commutation. Hoover still faces the remainder of a state prison sentence for murder, but his family is hoping for clemency from Governor Pritzker.
It's overwhelming. It's a long time coming, and we just want to hope it go all the way through.
The wife and son of Larry Hoover, after his 6 federal life sentences, were commuted by President Trump.
He deserves redemption. He deserves a second chance at being a part of this community. And he could be a benefit to this community if they want him to be a benefit to this community.
Hoover co-founded the Chicago Gangster Disciples, and while behind bars for a 1973 murder, federal prosecutors say he continued to run the gang's prolific multi-state drug operations.
If Larry Hoover said there was going to be a killing, there was a killing.
Ron Safer was the lead federal prosecutor who secured Hoover's 1997 conviction for running a criminal enterprise behind bars.
I believe in redemption, but there are some crimes that are so horrific that they deserve the punishment to the full extent of the law.
As years passed, Hoover's case drew increasing attention, including from artists like Kanye West and Chance the Rapper.
And I gotta remind y'all that he was a political prisoner.
He is being held because he is a symbol, not because he needs further incarceration or he hasn't been rehabilitated.
The president's commutation only applies to Hoover's federal sentence. He still faces state prison time for which he's eligible for parole. Governor J.B. Pritzker can also offer clemency.
We know that Governor Pritzker believes in rehabilitation, redemption, and transformation, and he's done all of that.
A governor spokesperson declined to comment on Hoover's case, but said inmates seeking parole or clemency must petition the Illinois Prisoner Review Board, which makes parole decisions and issues recommendations to the governor regarding clemency.
That's crazy. It really is crazy that he had been in there on that steel floor without a bed. And he's in a supermax prison. So what that means is, you guys, 23 hours a day, he's locked down. He only gets 1 hour of recreation. And so that'll break a man. That'll break a man quick, right? The human spirit, human nature, man is designed to be a communal being, a communal creature, right? A social creature. So when you've now separated him amongst those who are already excluded and separated, man, that's tough. So I think that's cool that the president at least did what he can do. I don't think he can do any more, because you saw the politicians say he still has to come back and serve his time. And from the looks of it, from the attitude, from the tone, he's not getting out anytime soon. Anything can happen, sure. But the way those lawmakers and those legislators and those officials were talking, he's good to have gotten that. You know, Larry Hoover, you hear stories about him. You have people who support him. You have people that don't, right? I guess it depends upon your perspective, because he was a man to be feared. Let's not get it twisted. Let's not pretend, right? When you talk about Robin Hood, he stole from the rich and gave to the poor, right? He was a person who was a minister to some and a merry, jolly soul to others. But he still had that dual side, right? And I don't say that to knock Mr. Hoover, because I've only heard stories. I've never met him. And, you know, I couldn't tell you what type of brother he is. But what I can say is, you know, absolutely the community is divided when it comes to Mr. Hoover and his true significance in the Black community, right? There are those that, just like a lot of leaders, right? I say that, just like a lot of leaders. There are a lot of leaders that we say, oh, I support that. Well, I don't support that, you know, or he was good for this, or, you know, he wasn't good for that. But again, I think it shows and proves that Donald Trump at least would make an attempt and an effort, right, to try to help someone at least get humane, get treated fairly. And that's cool. That's totally cool. Like, you can't expect much more. Yeah, you can't expect much more. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was, or go over, just to show you guys, right? Trump says he'd pardon Puff. Now, this is getting ugly, because I see also 50 Cent says he'll reach out to Donald Trump over did he pardon. I really, you know, if you know me personally, if we've ever met, if we've ever had a deep conversation, you know I have a lot of respect for 50 Cent, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. You know, but it's been, wow, it's been crazy. It's been crazy watching how this thing's unfolding with Puffy, because I've seen 50 produce a documentary, almost like a Surviving R. Kelly documentary. And I've seen him his commentary. Now, 50's a troll. I don't expect him to be nothing but a troll. It's a character. It's a caricature of a person, right? It's a persona and not a personality. I'm sorry, it's a persona and not a person. So I understand it, man. People do things strange for change on the internet, but this man's life is in the gallows, and it's like, wow, why would someone go as far as to make a whole documentary, right? And then, I'm just not for kicking a man while he's down, right? I'm not for it. A man has to, when a man is looking for justice, we have to be fair and unbiased, right? We have to, be logical. We have to leave logic and put emotions to the side, past experiences to the side, because our experience doesn't dictate justice, right? That's why they always have the blindfold over Lady Justice, right? With the scales being balanced, because justice works in that way. It's not for you or against you. That's what the eyes represent, right? If I can see you, I can say, oh no, nope, I'm not with him. I'm not with her. So it's blind. It doesn't matter who you are, right? It's not what you it's not for or against you. It's what you earn or deserve, right? But I thought this was crazy though. When I saw this, I was like, oh wow. They're saying Trump is saying he would pardon Puff. Wow, that spoke volumes to me. It says what Trump really thinks about the judicial system, if he's willing to step in like that. So I just want to show y'all this. I don't know if y'all saw this or not, but I'm gonna share it with you.
Get all of the latest on what happened today in the courtroom for Sean Diddy Combs' federal sex trafficking and racketeering trial. We've been relying so heavily on our colleagues at Fox 5 New York to help us tell this story. And Fox 5's Richard Giacobis, reporter there, joins me outside the courthouse with the latest. Richard, so good to see you here. If you could, get us up to speed. What took place today?
You know, the drama and the twists and turns, Andrew, they never seem to end. Week 3 of testimony in this sex trafficking and racketeering trial against Sean Diddy Combs is now in the books with his former personal assistant, one of them under the pseudonym Mia, going under cross-examination for the first time in her testimony, her second day on the stand. And while she was on the stand, she says that her trauma brain often wins over her logic brain. The former female assistant testifying, claiming she was physically...
See, that's that bullshit. Her trauma brain often wins over her logical brain. Guess what? That's not how justice works, sweetie. I'm going to need you to be as logical and as unbiased and balanced as you can, right? Otherwise, this man cannot get justice. See, but that's the common sentiment. That's big when a person says something like that in a court of law. That's huge, because if I'm a juror, what you're telling me is it's impossible for me to be reasonable about this trial because I'm so traumatized, I'm so triggered that I cannot think straight. That's crazy. That's dangerous. That's the type of thing that gets people killed. That's the type of thing that causes lynch mobs. That's the type of thing that causes hasty reactions that can get people harmed physically, emotionally, and legally, as what we're seeing.
And sexually abused by Combs. Today, Mia answered questions as to why she worked for Combs for so long and why she did things like make scrapbooks for his birthday, despite the alleged abuse. Mia saying, quote, "I was young and manipulated and eager to survive." I'm unraveling a lot of this now in therapy, she went on to say. She also said she thought making Combs a scrapbook would make him happy. The assistant also worked under Combs for 8 years, testifying she was sexually assaulted by the rapper just a few months into her employment and multiple times throughout the years she worked for him. The defense attorney suggesting at least 3 times today that Mia was making up the sexual assault allegations, asking her, quote, Mr. Combs never had unwanted, non-consensual, forcible sexual contact with you. Isn't that true? Mia answers, what I said in this courtroom is true. I have not lied to anyone at all. Mia will be back on the stand for more cross-examination on Monday morning. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump making headlines outside of the courtroom, being asked for the first time about this trial from a reporter in the Oval Office. The president responding to a question that was posed to him on whether he would pardon Sean Diddy Combs if he was convicted of a federal crime. The president responding and saying he'd have to look at the facts. That does it from here from Lower Manhattan, the federal courthouse, on another week of testimony that is now wrapped up. Andrew, we'll send it back to you.
Yeah, Richard, we're about to play some of that sound. In the Oval Office today, that question was asked by our colleague, Fox's Peter Ducey. So what is going on next when they get back to court on Monday? Who are going to be the witnesses next week? Do we know?
You know, we're not sure of the well, we know that Mia will be back on the stand on Monday. She has to finish up her cross-examination, and then the prosecution will have to call more witnesses. We believe more personal assistants will be called. Again, this is only week 3, and the prosecution, I believe, has at least another 3 to 4 weeks of witnesses. So there's a lot more to come out of this.
All right, Richard Jacob, it's always good to see you. Great reporting. We'll talk soon. Thanks so much. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Andrew. You too.
Right. In the meantime here, like we promised, if you didn't catch this live in the Oval Office today, our colleague Fox's Peter Ducey asked President Trump, sitting behind the Resolute desk there in the Oval, whether or not he would consider a pardon if Diddy were to be convicted here. This was his answer. Let's listen.
But back when you hosted The Apprentice, you mentioned once in 2012 that Diddy was a good friend of yours back then. He has since found himself in some very serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
Well, nobody's asked. You had to be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it. I think some people have been very close to asking. First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, he sort of that relationship busted up from what I read. I don't know. He didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden. You know, it's different. You become a much different person when you run for politics and you do what's right. I could do other things, and I'm sure he'd like me, and I'm sure other people would like me, but it wouldn't be as good for our country. As we said, our country's doing really well because of what we're doing. So it's not a popularity contest. So I don't know. I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact on me.
Okay, so wanted to let you listen to that exchange there. That was asked by Peter Ducey, and whether
I like what he said there. I want to play that one more time because that last part is super important.
I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact on me.
Okay, so wanted to let you listen.
If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or they don't like me, it makes no difference. I'm going to look at the facts. Right? That's justice. That's being just. Right? That's being just. Right? It doesn't matter how you feel about the individual. But it's kind of hard in this climate that we live in, man. It's super hard. I was listening to where who was it? It was another interview, and I might just play it for y'all, where they were getting questions written in, right? A lot of the questions were being written in and they were reading them. And I want to say it was CNN. And someone asked, how do you think the media coverage is going to affect the outcome of this trial, right? And the guy says, that's a big question. It's a huge question because what you want to do is you want to tell the jurors don't watch anything on social media, don't pay attention to anything, stay away from CNN, stay away from all these things in order to come to a just and reasonable and balanced judgment. But I would argue it's too late because we live in a time where it's not even what you did, it's what you're accused of doing, right? You allow people, if we're going to have a fair and balanced society, we're going to have to stop and prevent certain things, right? Welcome. I see y'all. It's 5 of y'all in here. Welcome to the Lead with Logic podcast. You are now rocking with Brother Faheem, your most gracious and humble host of the Lead with Logic podcast. Listen, wherever you are, please do me this one solid. If you're on Facebook, post it to your page, send it to somebody in direct message. If you're on YouTube, copy and paste the link, send it to 10 of your good friends that love good, hearty, healthy conversation. Also, who love to get knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. It's hard, man. We're sitting here talking about Donald Trump pardoning Larry Hoover. We understand that happened. We're talking about Donald Trump saying that he would pardon. I just showed where Donald Trump said he would pardon Puffy, right? And he said their relationship went sour when he became a politician. As it did, that is the case with a lot of people in the black community, right? As soon as he became deemed a political threat or a political candidate, we now lost all respect for him. He became a lot of atrocious things that just 24 hours prior to he was all right with us. But no. President Trump said it. Listen, regardless if I like a person, if I don't like them, I have to look at the facts. But what I'm saying is, in this climate, right, those jurors being told, don't look at anything, don't look at any media. It's only because the media is oversaturated with foolishness. It's oversaturated with a narrative that it's trying to perpetuate. Remember, brothers and sisters, behind all content is intent. So you have to ask yourself now, who's creating the content and why? Why do they now want you to automatically go against this person? Let me tell y'all something. This is some knowledge and wisdom for you guys to understand. Whenever a person asks you to make a judgment without having all the facts, you should be weary of that person. I'm gonna say that again. Whenever a person asks you to make a judgment about anything, about any, let's say noun, a person, place, or thing. Whenever a person asks you to make a judgment about a person, place, or thing without giving you all the facts, that person bears considerable watching. You should watch them because they're probably trying to manipulate and they have an agenda. What I just gave y'all was the media and how the media operates. We don't have any media outlets. We don't control any media. We have different podcasts here and there, right? I'm on you guys, wherever you guys are watching me from, whether it's in your car, in your house, wherever. You had to tune in, but I don't have a major broadcast where y'all can just turn the television on and you see me bow. Not yet anyway. But those executives, those producers, those directors, those creative those writers, any and everybody. It was a brother I talked to today. He reminded me of something. He worked in media for years. He said, people don't realize that when they view something anywhere on any type of media, it is a production. It is a production. You have to remember that. It's a production. And with the production, you have an intention. You either putting out propaganda, you're marketing a product, but you are trying to control what people are thinking to get them to do something, right? It can be a positive or it can be a negative, but it's an agenda. And so with this whole Puffy debacle, with this whole trial, it's already been festering inside of a climate that has already condemned this black man to guilt. So it's a day late and $1 short for that judge to be telling them, hey, don't view any social media. If you've been living in America, you couldn't help but see them run up in Puffy's spot. You couldn't help, if you're online, you couldn't help but see different people saying that Puffy was this type of person. He was that type of person. You couldn't help but see the New York Survivors Act that really started this thing in motion, right? That was the first that we heard of Puffy, when the New York Survivors Act was instated so that people could actually file in civil court, so people could actually get paid, right? Everybody saw that. Even if it wasn't Puffy, you could have saw Cuba Gooding Jr., Marcellus Wiley, Bill Cosby. These were all people who were charged in that New York Survivors Act when it first hit. Puffy just was one of the bigger names. But my point is, they have already polluted the waters before they try to tell you not to drink them. So yes. But that is interesting that Donald Trump would be that forthright and that forthcoming about that, because those are my sentiments exactly. Hey, we need to now know all the facts before we make a judgment on anybody. But again, people trauma bond, and they can't let go of whatever has happened to them, right? They keep it in the front of their mind, not realizing that you can't do that and come to a just decision or a just judgment. It's impossible. Absolutely free. I appreciate you, big dog. Hit the like button, share, and subscribe to the channel, please. Yeah, I want y'all to do that. Go on over to that like button and hit it, and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, and again, share it out. Share it out. Now, let's go to this Colorado shooting, because that's something that it's almost becoming, I'm gonna tell y'all, America in the last 30 years is almost becoming a staple for this country, for this nation, to have these one-time mass shootings, right? This is not the first, and I'm gonna tell you, if we don't change, it's not gonna be the last. It's not gonna be the last. It is not gonna be the last. It seems like, we hear the news, we see the bodies, we witness and observe the tragedy, but it's an ongoing occurrence. It's like a bad movie that just won't stop. It's it's perpetual, right? It's crazy. It is crazy. Let me see. I'm gonna play a little bit of the attack and what happened. I just learned about this today, and I said, "Damn." Yeah, it was horrible. Welcome. I see it. I appreciate y'all, man. I really do. Any person that comes in, man, I appreciate you. And again, hit them comments, man, because this is a dialogue. It's not just a monologue, right? Yeah, hit the comments, and let's see what we can get going. So we're gonna look and see what happened. As you can see, it says Boulder terror attack, 8 hurt by Egyptian man.
We start off with some breaking news here on Live Now from Fox as the FBI is continuing to investigate a terror attack that happened yesterday in Boulder, Colorado. I do want to show some scene video of that scene right here. Very heavy police presence as a man with a makeshift flamethrower who yelled "Free Palestine" and hurled an incendiary device into a group that had assembled to raise attention for Israeli hostages in Gaza. That continues to be investigated. 8 people were injured, some with burns. There is a suspect in custody, Mohammed Sabri Solomon. He is 45 years old. He was booked into the Boulder County Jail north of Denver, expecting to face charges in connection with that attack as the FBI continues to investigate it, calling it a terrorist attack. Online records did not immediately show when he would make a court appearance, but this happened at a very popular pedestrian mall. This is on Pearl Street, if you're familiar with the area. This is a 4-block area in downtown Boulder. All of this unfolding as the war between Israel and Hamas continues. The attack happened on the beginning of one of the Jewish holidays that is marked with the reading of the Torah. And this also happened less than a week after a man who also yelled "Free Palestine" was charged with fatally shooting 2 Israeli embassy staffers outside of a Jewish museum in Washington. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issuing a statement today, and I did want to share that with you as we continue to follow this breaking news, saying, quote, "The anti-Semitic attacks around the world are a direct result of blood libels against the Jewish state and people, and this must be stopped." We also have additional information right here as the FBI has stated that the suspect was in the U.S. illegally. A little bit more information about that. He is an Egyptian national who came into the country 2 years ago and overstayed his visa. He has now been charged. Solomon, 45 years old, was arrested at the scene after he allegedly set his victims on fire as they peacefully rallied on behalf of Israeli hostages still being held by Hamas in Gaza. He was overheard yelling "Free Palestine" and other anti-Israel slogans during the attack on the victims. The victims range in age from 52 to 88 years old. All of this unfolding at 1:26 p.m. local time. And I also wanted to share a post with you from the FBI out of Denver saying that the individuals were walking in a regularly scheduled weekly peaceful event. Officers rushed to the scene. The suspect has been identified as Mohammed Sabri Solomon, 45, of El Paso County. He was taken to the hospital to be medically evaluated before being booked in the Boulder County Jail on multiple charges. Witnesses reported that the suspect used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into the crowd. The suspect was also heard to yell "Free Palestine" during the attack. The FBI is investigating the attack as a targeted act of terrorism and is working with the Boulder Police Department to process the crime scene, interview witnesses, and gather evidence.
So, Egyptian guy attacks, peaceful march, flamethrower. You know, what that brings to my mind is I know a lot of that criticism that the president gets for a lot of the mass exodus that he's been forcing a lot of people who might have migrated or immigrated to the United States. And I said this before publicly. I think this is an immigrant nation, right? This is a nation that's built on people coming here in search, seeking out the American dream, looking for better. Or at least that's how they sell it, right? You know, Lady Liberty, you got, what is that? I forget what the name of it is. Look at my mind going blank. The island where everybody came to. If you know what I'm talking about, it's in New York. It's the island that the immigrants come through where they had to end process. If you're familiar with The Godfather, he had to go Ellis Island. You know, people had to go to Ellis Island to process in, right? People process in now from everywhere. But I say this, hey man, this is a part of, this is what fuels that fervor that he has when you have people from other countries doing acts. And that's not to say that everybody over here is doing that, because I understand everybody is not. Some people are coming over here standing in line, waiting their time, and doing this thing the right way. But for those who come over and commit these atrocious acts, it just don't look good, man. It doesn't look good at all. It does not look good at all. And so, yeah, that's wild. That's crazy. Free Palestine. Whoa. That's horrible. Now, the other part that I want to talk about that is this. How long is America going to, when are we not going to realize that we are now vulnerable any and every place where a mass group of people convene? Listen, brothers and sisters, wherever you go, if it's a massive group, hey man, you need to have some means of protection, especially if you got your, I mean, hell, if you don't have your family, you need to have some means of protection. If it's just you, but any massive meeting, hey man, if it's not a metal detector, if they not checking for knives, guns, anything metal that can hurt people, they basically putting the sheep out to be slaughtered by the wolves. 'Cause, man, I get tired of hearing about people shooting up movie theaters, people shooting up churches, people shooting up mass gatherings, peaceful mass gatherings, right? That's ridiculous. That's totally ridiculous. So yeah, man, at what point are we going to have more security? Are they going to be more watchful, right? I mean, we already saw what happened when the president was on the campaign trail, that guy. And a lot of people said that was an inside job, but hey, man, we have to do better, because you see these people, died innocently for no reason. Innocent people dying. That's never good. The Quran says something like, if you kill one innocent person, it's like you have killed the whole world. That's how damaging it is. That's how destructive and evil it is to do something like that. So yeah, man, that's horrible. When I saw that, I was like, wow, I had no idea that happened. And then in Colorado, right? Colorado has a storied history. That's where Columbine was, right? So Colorado was really getting, it's not a place I wouldn't even want to visit there. That's not a place I'd even want to go and visit. There's a lot of bad things have happened in Colorado. I mean, there's a lot of bad things that have happened everywhere. Let me say that. But this whole, harming people, in mass. Something happened 4 years ago in Colorado. It was a shooting. It was a mass shooting 4 years ago, right? But yeah, yes, it's wild. It's crazy. Now on to the law. I'm really just going over. I'm showing you guys, right? Current events. These are things that are going on as we speak. These are things, and hey, like I said, you guys can comment. Please comment, because I will absolutely get to your comment. I'll read it out. You can hear what you have to say.
And easily add automation without needing help.
So over the weekend, it was revealed that Rihanna's dad, Ronald Fenty, actually passed away at age 70 in LA. So I wanted to send her and her family, some love and healing. And I know her and her dad, because when people reported this, the people were confused as if they didn't know that Rihanna had once in a home in Beverly Hills that he owned during COVID, accused of sexual assault. Zion Williamson is being accused of sexual assault. He is the basketball player. He plays for the Pelicans.
Yep.
He's being accused of sexual assault, rape by a woman who is filed under Jane Doe. She says that she's a former ex-girlfriend of his, and she alleges that He raped her twice, once in a home in Beverly Hills that he owned during COVID. And she alleges that this happened after she denied engaging in sex with him. She also says that, or alleges that he held her hands behind her back, and then the sexual assault happened. And then afterwards, she alleges that Zion took her phone and choked her and told her allegedly that she was talking too much. And then the second claim happened after he allegedly picked her up from a friend's house, threw her down to the ground and pinned her shoulders down so that she could not move. And then she alleges that he violently raped her in multiple ways. This accuser is seeking anywhere from $18 million to $50 million, according to ESPN. And in a statement provided to the New York Post, Williamson has denied the allegations through his attorneys. So, yeah, getting out of court. Real quick, just some happier news. Beyonce just.
Hey man, here we go. Like Lil Kim said, it's another one. Wow. Another superstar athlete or another wealthy athlete is now being accused of rape. Hey man, I don't know about y'all. Hey, but brothers, y'all need to make sure if you got some money, man, it's time to start having some NDAs signed, non-disclosure agreements. I'm not saying he's guilty. I ain't saying he's innocent. But what I am saying is these lawsuits are becoming a bit too common, right? And they're retroactive. They're not anything that's recent, right? And again, man, I don't know if it's shame on the accuser or if it's shame on the system that would allow these accusers to be taken serious, right? And some of this shit is ridiculous, man. When you, again, if you watching Puff, yeah, RB, if you watching Peace King, if you watching Puff, you're seeing how a lot of that stuff is falling apart. And you know, they're not. You really have to be diligent when you're trying to look up stuff, when you're researching anything. But this Puff thing has really gotten to be a spectacle, and it's a few different outlets, man, that are reporting it, that are in the courtroom and that are reporting it in a balanced way. Because see, they don't tell you everything, right? What I just showed you, the guy said everything. I guess Mia said everything that has been said has been the truth. But now she also reported on the stand that she took up for Puffy. Right? Not Cassie took up for Puffy. Right? She took up for Puffy. Excuse me. That's wrong. Mia took up for Puffy against Cassie. Forgive me. Mia took up for Puffy against Cassie. And the defense was like, why are you defending Puffy against Cassie if he's such an abuser, if he's treating you like this, if he's been so bad? What is that about? The stories aren't lining up. But again, like it goes back to what the president said. I need to see the facts, right? We need to see the facts. But hey, man, the law is allowing these brothers to be drugged through the mud, and the time is right for it. And it's getting ridiculous. It's getting super ridiculous, and it should move brothers to move differently. That's not to say I'm blaming the victim. I'm blaming these people who are taken down, who are sued unjustly, or who are presumed to be guilty before we see any due process, any court of law go through its proceedings. Hey, man, it's getting ridiculous, y'all. I'm about to play something else. I'm sorry. I just hate to see it. I hate to see it because with Shannon Sharp, people said, oh, he's wrong for even dating her. He should have known better. Well, he should have. But at the same time, the law should not penalize or punish these brothers for their sexual or for their relationship preferences. That's what I'm trying to say. It's almost like they're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. Right? because things go awry, and now you can go and scream to the law that I've raped you, right? But I'm just sharing with you guys. I want to share something with you guys that I saw that made a whole lot of sense to me. It made a whole lot of sense. This sister she's an attorney, again, another attorney. And she's talking about the Diddy trial. And I had said this, and I got it from her. She said, this stuff seems like an instance of sexual regret. This doesn't seem like a rape case. She said Puffy's trial seems like sexual regret more so than a rape case. You know, you getting raped, you going back. You know what I'm saying? But listen to what she says, though.
A former street soldier turned military vet is forced back into a life of gmail.com. Let's go.
Welcome to another episode of the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. We got a special guest on today to talk about the recent Diddy Rico case. Attorney Al Keisha Shabazz is back in the building for round number 4. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Yes. What's good? It's a lot happening.
Happening. Oh my goodness, it's a lot.
I know.
And we talked about this maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and you were one of the people that predicted. You said that he would be indicted. So talk about that. You know, it finally happened. He's been indicted, but it's in New York, out of all places.
Yes.
So break that down if you can.
So he's been indicted here in New York in the Southern District, which is the same agency that was behind the warrant execution that happened in March. And so I believe since that time, they have been building this case, investigating the sentencing memorandum, or not sentencing, the detention letter indicates that they sent upward of 300 subpoenas. They interviewed 50 witnesses and or victims. And so that is how we got to have this indictment. So we're at a 3-count indictment where he is facing mandatory minimums on these counts, mandatory minimums of 15 years on each count. So in effect, he's facing life.
So why not, if they're saying a lot of this stuff happened in like Florida and California, why not in those states?
They could prosecute him in those states as well, right? But well, every state has its own jurisdiction, has its own sovereign jurisdiction. And they could choose, just like you saw Harvey Weinstein prosecuted both in New York State and also in California State. So there's nothing precluding their prosecution, but why would they go through the expenditure of bringing forth a prosecution while this is happening, right? So if any other state is interested in prosecuting, right, then they will wait to see how this plays out.
Got you. Now some of the details are pretty disturbing.
They are. So you got a little censorship here? Not censor, but trigger warning.
No, you get into it, but they're pretty much accusing this dude of being a monster.
Yeah.
Nothing short of a monster, forcing men and women to do sexual acts. You know, again, how do you gather evidence besides somebody just saying something? What type of evidence could you have besides just words, somebody eyewitness account?
Yeah, well, this person, because he's a narcissist and it was his desire to have evidence to use against the people who participated in these acts, he stored a lot of video evidence. And in March 2024, when they hit the door and they executed those warrants, they got a lot of video evidence. So not only do they have the video evidence that he kept, they have video evidence from other witnesses who were there so they got people who were there who witnesses. They're going to come testify, and they also have what those people will come say. They will have that stuff testimony corroborated by video evidence. right? Because what did he say when Cassie filed the lawsuit? All of these allegations are untrue. And then when the video dropped, he's like, oh, I was in a dark place.
Right.
So he's always going to deny until he's forced to admit.
Right.
So that's where we are. So now they have video.
Right. Wow. So they put I thought it was kind of strange that he offered $50 million a bail package to give everybody's. Why would you? Is that typical? Or do you wait for the feds to give you an offer? Or do you say, I'll give you $50 million? Let me get out.
I don't know the experience levels. I don't want to cast aspersions on any other lawyers, but that was the most pathetic bail package I have ever seen.
Wow.
Ever seen. And I think the government didn't even take them seriously. Like you playing in my face, right? Because think about this. As part of this enterprise, everything, all the proceeds that you have made in the course of the past 15 years or so, since 2008, all of the proceeds are subject to forfeiture, which would include the house you're trying to put up. So the government is like, wait a minute, you want to put up the house that we about to get anyway?
Wow.
How is that any moral suasion for you to come back to court? How is that house that you're about to lose going to be the thing that gets you to come back to court? It's not.
Right.
You don't care about that house.
That's what she said back then. Watch this. Watch this. Attorney El Shabazz, I see it's 10 of y'all in here. Peace. Let's see what y'all got to say. I'm gonna queue up the other one because that was the criminal attorney. That was 8 months ago. What I showed y'all was 8 months ago, but I'm getting ready to show y'all what she's saying today. So NDA for sure. Absolutely. Brothers, y'all need to start having NDAs. If you got any kind of wealth and assets, man, you got to protect it. LeVar says it's like a domestic violence case. Salute to the God. Salute to the King, my brother Lamar back home in the shot. Absolutely. They haven't proven anything, LeVar. The racketeering, the sex trafficking, and the drug trafficking, they haven't. They're trying to work on the sex trafficking. They're trying to say he's the ringleader. They're trying to set the foundation for, they can use, just for you guys' information, that are thinking, what are they doing? This is a federal case, so they can use those state cases to feed into the federal case. That's what they're trying to do. So they're using a lot of these cases that we have seen or that he's gone through to say, look, this is the foundation for this stuff. This is the proof that he is absolutely the ring, that he was trafficking women across the states. But they have not done that. They've done a piss poor job. So peace to the guy I'm late, but I mean, hey brother, you never late. You always right on time. Hit the like button now. Fed, CIA, bots, strangers, new listeners, old listeners, hit the like button. You heard free. Now listen, that was attorney El Shabazz. That's what she was saying 8 months ago, right? I want y'all to see she was saying that Puffy was a lot of things weren't looking good, a lot of things weren't looking proper. Watch this, y'all.
Peace. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure being with the gods. Always a pleasure. And hopefully I can shine some light on some issues today.
For sure. Definitely. So I seen I think a post you did on Threads, I think it's called.
Yeah, Threads.
Yeah,
Threads.
I don't know. I came across it and I'm like, oh wow. And it made me think to hit you up for the interview. But you were talking about the Diddy case. And I don't want to, misquote you because I didn't put the quote up here in front of me, but it was somewhere along the lines.
I've been saying a couple of things. Which one?
Okay.
Which one you thought of?
I think it might have been the one where you were talking about this is not a RICO case or it's more of a state. That one. Can you elaborate?
So in the initial, looking at the initial evidence, the first few witnesses, my take was that this is a state domestic violence case being portrayed as a RICO case. That's what it looks like so far, and my position hasn't changed. up until this day, considering the witnesses and all the testimony that I've seen so far. It still looks like a domestic violence case that they tried to roll into a RICO.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, if you're familiar with me, I don't deal in emotions when it comes to this stuff, right? And so it's very emotional, and a lot of people are having emotional reactions. But when it comes to the court, when it comes to what jurors have to look at, the thing that they have to do is set emotions aside. The judge is going to instruct them that you cannot have any sympathy for either side, for or against either side, cannot enter into your deliberations. So the fact that you think he's a monster, that these things that were done were atrocious, he's a despicable person, those are not factors that are going to satisfy the elements of the crimes that he's charged with. And that's what it comes down to, whether or not those elements have been satisfied, right? And so when I'm looking at a RICO case, typically when we're looking at RICO, right, historically, these are prosecutions, everybody knows, organized crime, right? That's what you think of when you think about RICO. And then legislatively, when this was being enacted, it was to get those types of organizations that are shrouded in the secrecy and that they are engaging in these types of behavior for profit. RICO is about commercial profit. RICO is about engaging in particular types of crimes: extortion, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, bribery, embezzlement, loan sharking, those types of crimes for the purpose of making money, right? So if you're saying I'm sex trafficking, when we think of it in a RICO context, it's, I got these hoes and they gonna go make this money for me.
Yeah.
Right? I'm gonna put you out there, whether I'm put you on the stroll, I'll put you on Backpage, I'm put you somewhere, and you gonna go, and the people that have sex with you are going to pay me. I'm not fucking paying them.
Right.
I'm not paying them. That's not how sex trafficking works. Sex trafficking, I'm making money.
That's what she's saying today, right? First, you heard what she said. Emotions have no bearing in the case. Brothers and sisters, newsflash. Emotions have no bearing when you're dealing with justice, period. So it don't matter if you think he shot Tupac. It don't matter if you think he was beating up on Cassie. It don't matter. None of that stuff matters. If you think he was, whatever your preconceived notions were of Puffy, and we're using Puffy as the low-hanging fruit. But that's a micro for the macro. The macro is, brothers and sisters, what I'm trying to tell y'all is, it doesn't matter when you're dealing with nouns, person, places, or thing, what you feel about them. Emotions don't matter. If you're going to be just, you're going to have to put that shit out of your mind and out of your head. It's got to go. And that's what a lot of us cannot do. That's why this is the attorney, right? This is an attorney saying that she's familiar with the law, right? She knows the law and she's familiar with the case, because you saw what I just showed you. Initially, she had a different tune, but after now observing and being aware and being knowledgeable of the facts of the case, it's totally changed, right? And what else was she saying here? What else was she saying here? What else was she saying here? What else was she saying here?
This money for me.
Sex trafficking. I think I did a build a while back, man. I know I did. I did a build. It was either earlier in the year or it was whenever all this stuff started happening. I want to say it could have even been, man, it could have even been last year sometime. I think it might have even been late last year. I did a build where I showed Pimpin' Ken talking about Puffy. He said Puffy wasn't nothing but a trick. He was buying. He wasn't selling. But you hear what she's saying. In a RICO, it's for profit. It's not for pleasure, right? So him buying is not the same as him selling or him organizing, right? Him having an enterprise of girls going out to be pimped, to be trafficked. That's not it. That's not it at all. That's not what we're finding. What we found with Puffy was he was hiring people. Hey, listen, I'll pay you. I'll pay you. I'll pay you. He wasn't receiving any funds. He was paying, right? So again, that's what I initially concluded. Puffy's not no pimp like that. He's not doing that. Not that I condone pimping, but I understand like that's not what he's doing. That's not how he's making his money.
Yep.
Right? I'm gonna put you out there, whether I'm put you on the stroll, I'll put you on Backpage, I'm put you somewhere, and you gonna go, and the people that have sex with you are going to pay me. I'm not fucking paying them.
Right.
I'm not paying them. That's not how sex trafficking works. Sex trafficking, I'm making money. So I'm not, and the evidence so far does not support that. It supports that there is an individual who has means and access and has a very freaky lifestyle. And these are the things that he did to support that lifestyle. I still haven't seen the conspiracy. Where's the, okay, because by definition, conspiracy is you have to agree with one or more other people. Where's the conspiracy? Because the employees that are doing the bidding, they are not co-conspirators, right? Because if they are, how come they haven't been charged?
Right.
They haven't, not only have they not been charged, we see them coming to testify. We don't even hear that they're testifying under immunity deals, right? So we saw the Punisher come and testify. He testified that he engaged in, I don't know, however many freak-offs with Cassie, right? And so if we accept that she was not able to consent, then didn't he rape her too?
Ooh. Wow. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he came in and he testified, no, she was with the shits, right? He came in, but what else was he gonna say? Was he gonna come in and say, you know what, she didn't look like she was kind of with it, but I still hit it? He's not gonna say that, because then you just lined yourself up. You a whole creep, right? You a creep and you low-key a rapist. So he's not going to do that. He's going to come in and support, and his testimony, I think, supported the defense's theory of this case, that Cassie was a willing participant throughout all of these freak-offs. Even in some of them, she orchestrated them, she set them up, she paid in some instances. And so maybe what we're seeing is not rape, but I think I've talked about this before, is sexual regret.
Wow. She said maybe what we're seeing here is not rape, but sexual regret. That's what I said. Hey, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. And it's dangerous because it sets a precedent, right? And that's what we're hearing with a lot of these different stories, man. A lot of these different stories is sexual regret. And they understand that the law will back them. They understand that the law is ripe right now. Right? It's ripe right now for this kind of thing. But the attorney said it. Hey, I want to welcome y'all. If y'all just tuning in, man, listen, I'm Brother Faheem, and I am your most gracious and humble host of the Leave of Logic podcast. Every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you know where I'm at, man, on YouTube, breaking down the controversial, the mundane, and the sensational, man, so that, we can extract that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding through documentary clips, through internet clips, through peer-reviewed journals, articles, literature, books, whatever we can use that's objective, that gives us objective, definitive fact, so that we can now experience life in 3D and enhance our enlightenment. Listen, what I want y'all to do is, like my man Free said, go on over there, hit that like button first and foremost, then hit the subscribe, right? And share this out. If you're on Facebook, man, share this out to your buddies. Share it out, man. Send it to them in a DM. Repost it on your page and theirs, right? You never get too much of a good thing. And also, if you're on YouTube, hey, man, listen, send the link out. Send it out, send it out, send it out. Also, if you want to get behind the movement, www.leadwithlogic7.com. Again, that's www.leadwithlogic7.com. We got hats, hoodies, and tees, and we got everything that you please. Go on over there and support the brother man before you support the other man. You dig? That's how we come up. What we going over right here, right now, just a little bit from an attorney, NYC criminal attorney, Akeisha Al-Shabazz. I showed earlier what she said 8 months ago about the Puffy trial, but then since she's had her insight, since she's become more knowledgeable, since the trial has been playing out, she's given her earnest and honest thoughts and perspective. Now, this is relative because we are seeing Puffy's trial is a precedence, right? It's a macro of a lot of many micro instances. What we see with Puffy, we saw a lot with R. Kelly, right? We saw a lot of the same with R. Kelly. We saw the documentaries before the trial, which I think is wrong. I think that should be totally illegal. You should not be able to put out a documentary that assumes guilt before a trial even takes place. I understand doing it afterwards, after all evidence, after due process has taken place, maybe. But to do that before is to condemn a man, condemn a woman in the court of public opinion, especially at a time when affluent people are being strangled and put in a chokehold by draconian and antiquated laws, right? Bill Cosby, right? All of hell, even Shannon Sharp, this new one. I showed the new one with Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson has a case against him, right? But we're just talking about, man, Puffy and his whole ordeal and the nefariousness of these charges and how the legal system it's not really a knock against the accuser or the person who alleges, right? Because justice has to be served. We have to go through the process to come to the conclusion that should be justice. But now, for the judicial system to allow these types of claims to take place is crazy. If you committed a criminal act, then you should not want to take it to the civil court, right? And if you're proven wrong, if there's any inadequacy, if there's any inconsistency in what these women or men are saying, they should be punished to the full extent of the law. Because these are business people who have brands, who have families, who have conglomerate businesses. And like the sister said, brothers and sisters, I love that. Put your emotions to the side. That's what leading with logic is all about. Letting enlightenment and divinity win, right? Your enlightenment and your divinity, not your emotions. Your enlightenment and your divinity is your higher consciousness, is your higher vibration. It's not your lower. Your emotions, you deal with your lower emotion. When you deal with emotions, that's your lower consciousness. That's your lower vibrations, oftentimes, right? So that's what Attorney Al-Shabazz is talking about. Oh.
But it could look like it. It could look like it, right? But from what I can see, I have not been convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that this is a RICO case that involves sex trafficking or even drug trafficking, right? Because the drugs that they were talking about, he was buying drugs for his personal use. That's not trafficking.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't care how you stretch this shit around. I don't care. It's not there. You can't make this, square peg fit into your round hole. I don't see it yet, though. Yet. I don't know. I say yet because we got 1 weekend and they claim that this trial is going to take 8 whole weeks.
Wow.
What? Really? 8? Who else y'all got? All right, so there may be another couple of victims. We know that there's at least one victim that's in the wind. I know there's going to be a therapist or some type of mental expert who's going to come in and try to explain battered women syndrome and why a woman wouldn't leave. But you know what? There were plenty of people that left.
Yep.
There were plenty of people that left and no harm came to them. They were like, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this shit anymore. And no harm came to them. Extortion. Okay, so Cassie's mother paid him $20,000. She got her money right back. Nobody's reporting that though, right? Because we got these sensational little, bloggers and half wannabe journalists that are out there half reporting for clicks and likes. And the extortion has been proven because his mother wired the money to Diddy to his business, and she was an artist. And he said that she owed money that she had to recoup. Now listen, that shit could have been completely bullshit.
Right? Exactly. Right.
Completely bullshit because he's a petty little man, right? And he didn't need no 20 stacks from these people, and which is probably why he sent it back. But that's still it supports the theory that he's just a jealous person, right? Who does petty little shit because he can. That's not criminal. It might be immoral. Right? It might be immoral, but I don't think it rises to the level of criminality.
No offense, but if you're paying more than
I gotta pay for YouTube, otherwise I get these ads.
So we talked about because we've talked about Diddy's case previously prior to the trial beginning. And we talked about the government's percentile when it comes to winning these cases, and we had a very high upper 90s. As of right now, we've seen it from the outside looking in, and your expertise, you haven't seen it yet, but there is still time. In your experience, do you typically see the federal government kind of, I'm gonna say for right now, slow playing this, or if they really had something substantial to fit their case of RICO or trafficking or drug trafficking or those things, would we have seen these things a little earlier, or does it usually take this type of time before everything starts getting rolled out?
I think this is their case.
Ooh.
I think this is their case. I really don't think they have much more than what they have alleged in their opening, that this is going to be about this individual. And they say I don't know how they say that this again is a conspiracy. This is one person. It's one person. I just don't see it. And I think the last time we talked about it, we said it would come down to consent, right? It would come down to whether or not these women were willing participants, or whether or not they were forced, or this was coercion, or they were under duress. And up until this point, I haven't seen anything that suggests beyond a reasonable doubt, right, that this was a coerced behavior on Cassie's part, right? Because she had the agency. Let's just talk about this for a second. She had the agency to have relationships with other men. And I mean, if you're terrified and you are, that's not how you move. If you are in a relationship where you are suffocating and you can't make moves, you don't engage in other relationships with other people out in the open and things of that nature. She had agency to do a lot of things that women who are under the thumb of an abusive person do not get to do. Right now, I'm not saying she had I'm not excusing the violence that we've all seen. I'm not excusing that at all. Absolutely not. But what I'm saying is that is a state domestic violence issue. It should long ago should have been prosecuted by the state.
I love what she said there. You're not moving like a person who is being trafficked because you had agency, i.e. control. You moved how you wanted to move. You had the control to go do dope. You had the control to go get married. You had the control to even get smashed when you're called by your husband. You getting smashed on FaceTime. That's crazy. These are all crazy details. You had the control to initiate the freak offs. You had control to go between men, i.e. Kid Cudi and Puffy. These this is crazy. These facts that are coming out, right? This is nuts. But I wanted to pause right there because when I see sex trafficking, that's not the portrait or the image that I see when I see it. I see a child, or I even see a woman who has no agency over what she eats, over where she sleeps, over who she deals with. She is basically a slave, and she is treated as such. If she's being made to eat fecal matter, she's going to eat fecal matter. Whatever the treatment that you read about the slaves, that's what the sex trafficking. That's the image that at least that I see, right? I don't see all of these privileges, all of these luxuries, so to speak. And again, like the attorney says, not downplaying whatever her claim is or her allegation, but from observing, that's not in my mind's eye who I see. That's not how I define a person up under the thumb of being sex trafficked.
And since it wasn't, it's now too late. Statute of limitation has run on that, which is why they can only bring a RICO.
Wow. What do you think about his defense lawyer, their strategy? He did get a woman on the team. They said she was a bulldog attacking. What do you think of their strategy? We can't really watch it, but we can only read. So what's your expertise on the way they're attacking the case, in particular attacking like through the cross-examination portion?
Listen, cross-examination is the crucible to truth. It is the most important part of any trial. Direct examination is always going to go smooth, right? For the most part, because that's your witness.
Right.
When you think about someone like a Dawn Rashad, they met with her 8 times. So I've tried cases in the Southern District. I know how they prep their witnesses. And you need to meet with someone 8 times because they can't get their story straight. So you got to meet with them over and over again because no, you didn't get it right. You didn't get it right the last time. You didn't get it right the last time. You didn't get it right the last time. And then maybe by the 7th or the 8th, you're getting closer to what we need you to say, which is why that shit falls apart on cross-examination. That's why cross is so important, right? Because you're not going to see the holes on direct. Effective cross-examination. So I think they're doing what they need to do. I don't think all of them are equally skilled at cross-examination. I think we saw the difference in their approaches. When you see Nicole Westmoreland, she's taking your throat. She's going for the jugular, right? She understands the importance of impeaching, and it's a skill. Right. And a lot of lawyers don't know. They think they just go right into it. No, there's a buildup when you are trying to impeach someone. Right. And I think I posted the 3 C's of impeachment. You don't just go to confronting someone. You have to get them to confirm the shit they said before. You get them to credit that that's what they said. And when they said it, that their memory was fresher then than it is now. Then you confront them with the shit they said now, which is inconsistent with what they said before. It's a buildup to it. It's an art to it, right? And I don't see all of them doing that. I don't see all of them starting with what we call closed questions, right? When you're on cross-examination, you should not be asking open-ended questions. Open-ended questions elicit too much information, right? I'm on cross. I know what I need from you. So here's how I get it. Isn't it true that this happened? And weren't you also here? The only response I want from you on cross is yes or no.
Right.
Because that's how you control a witness on cross. You never ask a witness a question you don't already know the answer to. That's why you don't ask open-ended questions, right? So I think some of them are doing a really good job. And I think as this plays out and we get to see who is more adept at cross-examination, we will see more of them, right? We'll see them doing more. Because I'm sure that Mr. Combs is going to be watching and seeing who he thinks is the most effective at cross-examination. And I'm sure he will tap them to do more of the crosses. And we'll see that play out as the weeks go on.
Should I switch to Monday CRM? Updating this field.
I'm going to stop it right there. Yeah, man. Y'all heard that was attorney Al Shabazz. Y'all check her out. She I think she has her own show. She has her own series. But she was on a podcast, Hip Hop News Uncensored. That's the name of that podcast. I listen to them too. They're absolutely dope. They have some super credible guests. They ask some super pertinent questions that are super dope and insightful. And man, I just like how they lay it down. I like how, they let the people come on. They've had Judge Joe Brown on, they've had quite a few guests that have really, really shed light on a lot of topics. Like the attorney. I enjoyed her. When I saw that, I said, damn, she's breaking it down. But I wanted to juxtapose what she was saying 8 months ago prior to, right, with the information that was put out there as opposed to right now. You heard her say that this is their case. Cassie is the one that's supposed to put the nail in the coffin, right? She hadn't seen any Rico, right? And it's just wild. It is really just wild. But what I didn't show you guys, the end, they asked her, did they think that this would stop? Did they think that people would stop hiring prostitutes? Do they think that big wealthy people will now cease to have these orgies, have these parties? She said, absolutely not. Prostitution is the oldest profession known to mankind. Absolutely not. They won't. Shannon Sharp said it. I date my wage, not my age. As long as people want to go to these luxurious places, they're going to go. Brothers and sisters, they have all kind of shit you can get into. Hedonism, camps, swinging, it's all kind of things that go on in the world. And none of it's going to stop. Human beings are going to always feed that desire for hedonistic desires, and that's their business. Such is the nature of man. Such is the nature of mankind. But it's something to be said about a system that allows its citizens to be drained of their lifeblood economically, right? Yeah, so man, I was just wanting to go over that with you guys, man. Show you guys a little bit of what's going on. Donald Trump, again, him saying that he would pardon Puffy if he saw where he's getting mistreated, even if him and Puffy's relationship was not what it was, and they were at odds and they were contentious. That's more than I can say for some people that I've listened to, right? Some people just cannot give Puffy a fair shake. Some people, and it goes to show, I say to myself, well, damn, you probably wouldn't give me a fair shake neither. You probably listen to what you heard about me. I don't know what you heard about me. But yeah, man, it's nefarious information out there about all of us. But man, you have to put all that to the side when you're talking about being just. And Trump said, hey, I'd have to look at the facts, regardless of what I think about a person or what the nature of our relationship is. And also him commuting the sentence of Larry Hoover. Understand, he's not getting out, brothers and sisters. Larry Hoover is not getting out. That doesn't, or his commute doesn't mean he's getting out. Let me say that. But you saw the legislators say, hey, he still has to serve. They gave this brother 200 years. Just say life, man. I hate it when they do shit like that. 200, man, that's life. Who living 200 years? But yeah, man, he was commuted because the way he was living, the way he was living for as long as he's been living for 50 years. You mean to tell me they've had him in a steel cage? I mean, you can't even get a pillow. You can't even get a pillow to lay your head on. 1 hour, 1 hour per day, you get, to go outside and see the sunlight. That'll drive any man insane, berserk, like Kanye said. It's enough to drive a sane man berserk, right? And then that bombing, man, not the bombing, excuse me, the attack in Colorado. That's crazy, man. Listen, we have to tighten up. We have to tighten up. America, please tighten up your security measures. Please, please, please tighten up your security measures. And if you are a private company, if you're a private person holding an event where it's going to be a lot of people, please have adequate security. Please, I see you, G Firm. Peace, peace, God, peace, King. Please have adequate security. Please have adequate security, because these occurrences are becoming too common, all too common, all too common. And people taking their family to these things. Hey, man, that's nuts. That's nuts. Who you want to go? Not only do you want to be safe, but you want to have a peace of mind, man. You want to have a peace of mind. When they report news like this, man, people get, you know, they become a little bit up under distress, man, because it could happen to any of us. It could happen to any of us. And this cat was from another place. Who knows who he was working with? I mean, I'm just saying, if you throwing the event, please have adequate, security. If you're attending the event and you look ahead and you like Chris told Michael, always go ahead. Always go ahead, man, or at least inquire to what the security measures are going to be. If it's outside and it's going to be a lot of people and you have a license to carry, it might be a wise thing to carry. It might be wise. I'm not telling nobody to go out there and illegally, own guns or carry guns illegally. That's going to get you some time. That's a quick way to get incarcerated. But if you have gone through the legal process and you can, in fact, carry and you have a license, hell, in some states you don't even need a license, right? You don't even need a license. You can carry, but it's always best to have a license. Hey, man, it's not a crime to protect yourself and your family. It's actually intelligence. It's love. So listen, man, I appreciate y'all, man. I really do. It was 10 of y'all in here. That means it's probably gonna get some playback. Look, man, as Mr. Malcolm said, man, may we all meet again. May we all meet again in the light of understanding. Trying to get some guests on here to come and speak to the people so that they can share some of their products and services. Man, you can find just about anything that you want. Anything that you want, you can find it. You just have to, please, peace, Big Wise. Anything that you want, you can find it, man. You can manifest it. You can manifest it. A brother was telling me about this book called The Secret. Let me leave this with y'all. The Secret. If you read The Secret, thanks, I appreciate it, Free. If you read The Secret, hit 1. If you've heard of The Secret, hit 2. If you've read the book The Secret, hit 1. If you've heard of the book before now, hit 2. To all those 8 people out there. But The Secret deals with the law of attraction. It deals with self-actualization. You heard of it. Okay, Big Wise. All right. If you've heard of it. My brain's going a million miles a minute. That's why I'm chopping up. The book deals with, self-actualization, the law of attraction, manifesting what it is that you would like to get out of life. These are things that can really change your life. And when you read it, that's why it's good to read stories and biographies and autobiographies of successful people. Read about successful people and how they became successful, what they did to solicit, right? To bring that success into their environment, right? The person that I want to read about is, and I might have mentioned this, is John D. Rockefeller, right? I was reading Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature. And it was so interesting because it broke down how Rockefeller, how he triumphed over all his business opposition. And it wasn't a cookie cutter way. He was very shrewd and strategic. Very shrewd and strategic. And I was like, I got to see how he did that. Because success leaves clues, right? That's a clue. I was like, damn. It's a book called Titan that I'm going to get by John D. Rockefeller. About John D. Rockefeller, excuse me. Titan. And it talks about, it's a thick book. It's got to be about 1,000 pages. And it details his life and his business deal and his acumen and how he rose to power with oil and steel. But I like the fact that he used his brain and he used strategy, right? And he used logic to amass a fortune, to amass a lot of wealth, right? And so, yeah, man, you should read about famous people, famous successful people, right? And see what it is that they did. Letitia Whitebird. Okay. Letitia, hopefully you liked The Secret. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you like The Secret. Because I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna see what it is, because again, that's one of those things. It almost seems like alchemy. If you've read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Is that how you say his name? I forget how you say it. He was the reason the game Monopoly was created. Absolutely he was. Rockefeller, Carnegie, Vanderbilt, these were all men who monopolized in their industry. Oil, steel, right? Real estate, Ford with cars, right? At one point, they cornered the market. When you have a monopoly, that means you have cornered it to where you have control, right? You're absolutely right, Free. You're absolutely right, Free. He was on there. It said how what I thought was ingenious was he would go to the smaller ones and tell them, look, we're going to put y'all out of business. So y'all might as well go ahead on and merge. Let me take it over. Just let it happen. Don't fight it. Just let it happen. That's what Rockefeller was doing to the smaller businesses. But what would happen was he had set up another oil company that was supposed to be, something counter to him, right? It was somebody else that they could go to an alternate, and he's behind the alternate. They don't know it, but all of the money comes to him, right? Like you said, he had monopolized, but they didn't know that. They thought they were escaping his control when they were really walking right into it. See, shit like that is appealing to me. But nonetheless, yeah, man, The Secret. This goes back to The Secret: self-manifestation, self-actualization, and the law of attraction, attracting things, whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you desire, it can be yours, right? You just need to know how to do it. You need to be able to have the know-how in that type of alchemy. So listen again, man. May we all meet in the light of understanding. I appreciate you guys. Same bat time, same bat channel next week. And listen, please comment. You can go back. If you go back and watch, I have some shorts out. Please comment up under it. You might not have heard something. You might not have seen anything. Look, www.leadwithlogic7.com, right? For your hats, hoodies, and tees, and whatever else you please. Like I said, man, I got this hat and a lot more. So y'all go through, man, and shop with your brother, man, before you give that bread to the other man. Listen, man, peace and love, y'all. Peace, peace always. And I'll see y'all again next.